Hi, I'm Dennis, and you're on the channel about Albania. We still live in Albania and make videos about this wonderful republic. Today, a short video about houses, about private country houses, and a little bit about prices, even about ones like this. For example, the house you see behind me, a house like this costs about 600,000 euros. 600,000 euros with everything, utilities, furniture, and so on. That's it. We don't recommend looking at anything online. It's much better, of course, if you come here and see with your own eyes these houses, these plots of land, and everything related to them. Why is this important? Well, first of all, because internet pictures don't convey the full impression of, for example, a house. Because, well, for example, you see the house behind me, but you don't see what its surroundings are like. That is, next to this house, for example, there are nice, luxurious cottages, perfect roads, and quite well-off neighbors. Or, on the contrary, there might be a large sewage collector next to this house and a very unpleasant smell throughout the whole area. You see what I mean? So you don't see any of that. That's it. That's why, well, we encourage you to come here in person and not to trust just any publications on the internet. That's it. Or, for example, right next to this house, you might see an old, you could say, abandoned little house, right? And usually in online listings, no one ever mentions these things. Actually, this is a good place. We wanted to show you this contrast, what happens when you come here in person. Next, for example, what you see behind me, though, you see the house is old, unfinished, and incomplete. A similar house in this area costs about 85,000 euros. Of course, you need to invest in construction, in finishing materials, and in engineering systems. But this can be done if, for example, you want to save money because you can buy such an inexpensive house, but in a very good location, right? And do what you want with it, right? And this way you can save quite a lot of money. In addition to this, there are documents here. In Albania, this is probably even more important than the building itself. That is, you need to have all the official permits for the construction of this house. If the house is already built, it is absolutely necessary for it to be registered. Only then is it considered the real property. A house like the one you see behind you today costs about 250,000 euros. Specifically in this location, you can see that the first two floors are residential, and the third floor, let's say, is kept in reserve in case more space is needed. For example, if there are more children, that's something that happens in Albania. And I would like to mention that private houses here are all made of stone. No one builds with wood in Albania because we have a lot of industries here that support stone house construction. There are concrete plants, brick factories, but there is no quality timber available. So it turns out that building a good, solid, reliable stone house is much cheaper than importing wood from somewhere and building with timber. That's really great. I'd like to point out that house prices depend heavily on the location because places vary a lot. There are houses for sale in urban areas and there are houses for sale somewhere far away in the mountain. And of course, this also affects the price. Infrastructure and, let's say, the surroundings also influence the price. In other words, what is located near this house? For example, maybe there's some kind of factory there or some industrial center, or on the contrary, maybe this house is surrounded by quiet, peaceful cottages and is near the sea. And then, of course, the price will also, believe me, differ significantly. In any case, come visit us here in Albania so you can see all this with your own eyes. That way, it will be fair and honest. In Albania, it often happens that the owners of the country houses live, let's say, on the second or third floor, while on the first floors they sell something or run some kind of small business. For example, behind me you can see the second floor is residential, while on the first floor people have set up a small shop. This could be a shop, a hair salon, or even a pharmacy. Of course, this is more common in large cities where there are big private residential areas within the city limit. But if you go a little further out of the city, to some small towns, you'll see much less of this, of course. But it's best, of course, if you come and see all of this with your own eyes. That's all for today. Subscribe to the channel so you don't lose track of it. Give us a like. It's easy for you and it makes us happy. and write to me if you want to come settle here, buy something, for example, a country house, or at least just to learn something about Albania. Good luck.